A lot of people says I shouldn't write this, but I am. The Bible states a life for a life. So after murder, not one, but two innocent women, why would anyone consider a little over 30 years would be sufficient enough to release anyone? Justice would be letting him stay right where he is and right where he belongs.
And that is a mic drop by one of the victims of this crime. And it was in October 8th, 1992, approximately 12:45 p.m. in the afternoon, when he shot and killed his wife and her friend. Now what's as horrifying as this crime, in my opinion, is the complete lack of remorse that he shows, and even the comments made by his supporting family. Now, at just the age of 63, he still has a lot of life to live and a lot running on this plea to commute his sentence from life to a term of years. Do you think he will find mm, mercy from the Louisiana Parole Board? Let's find out.
Mr. Lambert, you're here today before the pardon board. You're seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in June of 1994 in Tangipahoa Parish for 2 counts of first-degree murder. You are serving a life sentence. Is that information correct, Mr. Lambert?
Yes,
All right, Mr. Lambert, would you tell us what happened? What did you do to, why are you in jail?
I killed 2 people that morning.
Tell us about it.
My wife and her friend. We got into an argument. They come to the house and left and come back, and bad things happen.
All right. Well, why do you think you're deserving of a commutation of your sentence?
Well, I ain't the same man I was back then 30-something years ago.
All right, let me acknowledge, I just got handed a sheet. We have some other folks, Tamika White, Alexis Taylor, Michelle Spax, and Tatlin Costa, who are also participating today in opposition.
And also I would like to note that Ms. Linda would have been here, but due to unforeseen reasons, she's just watching on Zoom
Okay, thank you.
circumstance.
So Mr. Lambert, why do you, tell us a little bit more. You say you're a different person. Why do you think you deserve a commutation of your sentence?
Well, I done took my classes, and I think I've done wrong, and I asked the victim family to forgive me. I asked the good Lord to forgive me, and I'm a better man, and the classes helped me on everything.
Yeah, glad to hear that. Well, let me ask the warden there. Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Lambert?
Mr. Lambert is a minimum A offender trustee. He's assigned to Camp FD1 and he works at tractor repair. He had a total of 29 DB reports last being September 15th of 2004. He has participated in 100-hour pre-release, thanking for a change, victim awareness, and victim awareness letter training. He also did anger management, substance abuse, and his tiger is low.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to hear from the parole project now, Mr. Myers.
Good morning, Kerry Myers, Louisiana Parole Project. Here to let the board know that Mr. Lambert is our client. Should this board see fit to grant him a recommendation today and he become release or parole eligible, Parole Project will provide transitional support. This is based on his disciplinary record, his work record, the comments from the institution, and his overall conduct since he's been incarcerated.
Great, thank you. And let's hear from Mr. Lambert's mother, Miss Nadine Lambert. Ma'am, what would you like us to know about your son? Miss Nadine?
Yes.
What would you like us to know about your son?
Well, I've been through all this with him. I've visited him just about every 2 weeks, so I know every month over here, and I've seen a lot of changes in him. And I know that he's a changed person. And he will do great in society. He's not the same man. He's a better person. He's learned his lesson, and he knows he has to respect the law, even if he did something happened in his mind when all this took place. He was a young person trying to survive, raise a child. And he didn't have too much cooperation from his wife. God forgive me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning, and he's lucky to have your support for all these years. Before we move to our interview, Mr. Lambert, we're going to hear from the opposition. Could we first hear from Sissy Armoni?
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Okay, good morning. My name is Pauline Sissy Arnone. I am Mary Arnone's sister. Living without her has been heartbreaking beyond my words can express. As for David Lambert is concerned, let me express my concerns. To my understanding, David is asking for a pardon at this hearing today. I do understand the rehabilitation is a good goal of justice system, but we must acknowledge the severity of David Lambert's actions and the damage that he has caused. We must be assured that David will no longer be a danger to my family or to anyone upon his release. From my personal point of view, knowing David in the past, and maybe still is, a very pure, evil man. I do understand that people can change for the better, and they can also change for the worse. David has been surrounded all these years with the worst of the worst criminals, just like himself. And we all know there is a very small percentage that only a few ever changes. Knowing how he was or still in the past is a possibility, and David being in that environment for so long, he will not be able to cope with today's society. It's not the same world as it was all those years ago. I really don't think he can adjust in today's world, and that makes me extremely worried that would he do the same as he done before and cause harm to my family or anyone's family. I would like to know who would be responsible if something so horrific happened once again if he was released. What would he have to lose? There's no telling what goes on in the mind of a murderer until the unthinkable happens. I beg you, let's not take that chance. He took the life of my beautiful sister and her beautiful best friend. They would never ever see their children or grandchildren grow, and we miss them dearly. A lot of people says I shouldn't write this, but I am. The Bible states a life for a life. So after murder, not one, but two innocent women, why would anyone consider a little over 30 years would be sufficient enough to release anyone? Justice would be letting him stay right where he is and right where he belongs. He does not deserve to live the rest of his days as far as a man knowing that he took the lives of others and possibility of doing it again. Once again, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words, and God bless you all.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your words.
Thank you.
We have Jamie. Go ahead. Yes, please.
I'm Jamie Dable. I am the daughter of Rebecca Abear, the woman he made a conscious decision to murder that day along with his wife. He didn't just take 2 lives, he ruined hundreds of lives when he took a mother from their children. I've grown up without a mom, watching everyone have a mom. I have 4 beautiful children who will never see my mom. I have a husband who will never meet my mom. I went through proms, dances, marriages, divorces, deaths. You name it, I went through it without a mom because he made the conscious decision that he made to take a life. So what in this world would give him the right to think it's okay for him to be let out to walk this earth and enjoy the fresh air, enjoy his family, when he put 2 people in the ground who will never be able to enjoy the families they have? He took 2 lives and ruined hundreds. He doesn't deserve to walk that life. He deserves to be where he's at, serving the sentences he serves. Other than that, he might be reformed. He might have a better life, but he's where he's at. He needs to be. It's not fair. Why should a murderer walk free when 2 innocent women are in the ground and their families are without them? So,
Thank you. All right, Mr. Lambert, your case was assigned to Mr. Tillis. Would you answer any questions?
Good morning, Mr. Lambert. How are you?
Pretty good.
You say you and your wife got in an argument. I read your case and went through it. Were you on drugs at the time?
No, sir.
What was the argument about?
About her wanting to leave and I didn't want her to leave.
Okay. I have no more questions.
All right, Ms. Stapleton?
You served how many years so far? How many years did you serve, sir?
Well, I served 30 in Angola, but I've been down 32.
Okay. All right. In addition to what Jamie said, she also wrote a letter. She had some comments. I'm not gonna read them all, but a few things do stick out. She said her grandparents provided a wonderful, good life for her. But she has few memories of her mother and has no doubt that she would have been a wonderful mother and grandmother had she been given that opportunity. She didn't get to say that just then. And then there's another comment that the person is opposed. And he said he took 2 mothers' lives when he killed these women, and those children were forced to grow up without their mothers. It must be her mom, it must be her sister. This loss was especially hard on his niece, Jamie, this man. He advised that in his opinion, the offender remain incarcerated for the original sentence, which is life. And this is the brother, and he said this little bit was okay to read. He advised that he was devastated by the loss of his baby sister. They were closest in age and also close emotionally growing up. So just like she said, and just like you learn when you take a crime victims class, and they talk about the ripple effect. And then of course, you think about this going out, but actually a crime victim sometimes is so devastating because even generations are wiped away. And generations of love and understanding and memory, you take that away from people very, very close to the crime. That's all I have to say. Oh, I did want to ask you, you said bad things happen. Is that what you said? When you opened up your statement, how did this happen? You said bad things happen. You were arguing. Bad things happen.
Yes, ma'am. When you kill somebody, it's bad.
Yeah, bad things happen. Okay. I just want to make sure I heard it right.
Mr. Freeman? Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lambert, were these the only 2 people that you intended to kill that day, or was there some others in the family you was gonna kill?
I wasn't intending to kill nobody. It just flipped out.
So you wasn't planning on killing your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law or anyone else?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Lambert, it was mentioned that you've taken some classes and particularly victim awareness and the victim accountability ladder. What did you get out of those 2 classes?
And I hurt people that I hurt. I didn't realize how many people I hurt. And other people's,
So did you write a victim accountability ladder?
yes, ma'am, 2 of them.
Who did you write that to?
What you say?
Who did you write it to?
One went to Baton Rouge and one went up here, I think.
Who were the victims?
Oh, the victims, Mary Ononi Lambert and Rebecca Aber Sullivan.
So you wrote letters to each of those families?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I don't have any other questions. I think the board's prepared to vote, Mr. Tillers. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have them on my list. We have ADA on the line with us. Yes, Alexis Taylor. I'm sorry.
Good morning. Of course, the district attorney's office, we do stand opposed to any amendment of the sentence, parole, probation, what have you, him being released in any capacity. What I would remind Mr. Lambert is one of the prescribed consequences of his action is the death penalty, which he has avoided. So he has walked away from this with his life, unlike the 2 victims' lives that he took. And what's been very interesting to hear too is his mother, who's there in support of him, to blame actually one of the victims. She said he had a wife who was not cooperative or was not supportive. That is a problem. And also included in the facts of this matter, the defendant actually fled the scene and discarded the firearm, which was later discovered next to the interstate. So he initially had no plans to face the music for what he had done. And, like anything in life, with any sin that is committed by any of us on this line, right? While we may be sorry, while we may regret what we do, we still have to pay the price for the wrong that we do. So the state stands opposed to him being released. He actually did avoid the death penalty after taking the lives of 2 people, and he should remain incarcerated there in Angola. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Tillis.
Today, my vote is to deny due to strong opposition by the DA, victims, and the sheriff department.
State Kitchen.
I concur with Mr. Tillis and the ADA. I think she spoke very eloquently just now about the severity of this crime and what you did escape, which was your keeping your own life.
Mr. Prater.
Deny.
Mr. Freeman.
I concur.
Mr. Lambert, my vote also is to deny, based on the opposition that's been expressed here today. So today, sir, your application's been denied. Good luck to you.
And a quick denial. And this was easy. If he couldn't have made it any easier. I don't know if you caught him in the lies. Miss Renata totally set him up. And I was happy that we could get the confirmation by the head shaking of the woman on the bottom right. I'm forgetting her name, but the one who left a beautiful, beautiful statement. He didn't write them letters. He's sitting here lying at his commutation hearing. And there was something else. He is, I think, just a professional liar. I think someone you might categorize as a sociopath, psychopath. I'm not diagnosing anyone. I'm speculating on a situation like this. But he's one of those guys that thinks he's so clever and thinks that he can fake it with his little fake crying there. It's quite funny. He's tried to do that at the beginning. In his appeal, it shows here that he was coming off as something like a 60-something IQ, and they show in here that the psychiatrists were insisting that he was malingering, that he was faking his mental ailment. So this is what he was trying to do at trial, was playing literally dumb, I guess. And they said, no, 57 IQ. And it didn't add up because he was able to do things that someone with a 57 IQ couldn't do. It's listed here in the report. And you know, it's kind of common with these super narcissists or whatever it is that they are, where they think they're so smart, but yet they do things that are so unclever, like not even thought out, like pretending to be a 57 IQ, but then doing math equations in prison, or writing and at levels that are higher than, which is something they talk about, why they came to the conclusion is malingering, or claiming that you wrote letters to the victims as if the parole board wouldn't know that he didn't write letters, and even having the statement to the parole board, things happen, and you heard from his mother, who's still like blaming the victims, which is just crazy. But sometimes the acorn really doesn't fall far from the tree. We just see that in these cases. Let's see what Lady Holly has for us. I can't believe he's only 63. He's not aging that well, right? It does show here that the police found them both shot in the car. According to the hearing, she wanted to leave, but he didn't want to. There's nothing else, but we will get our fun fact from Holly. Holly's been dropping us fun facts. So in 1932, Australia declared, she's from Australia, declared an official civil war on the emu, and the military was dispatched to fight the emus. The best part is the emu won. That isn't a fun fact. I don't know anything about the emus. Now I'm curious, but I digress. Maybe I'll learn about that later. This is just one of those classic cases where you see evil in its, and he had no chance. There was no chance that they're going to recommend to the governor to commute a sentence to give him parole eligibility. It's funny that he even tried, but he's so in his head. And you have, of course, Randy Meyer from the Parole Project. It's like he doesn't even screen his clients. Like, you're going to get up here and put your reputation on the line in the face of the victims and say, we're going to offer him a place to live. And it's like, why don't you, if you're going to do that, at least have him sit with one of your attorneys and have them and put together a script that he can tell the parole board. Why don't you invest one phone call with the guy, write the script so he can at least read something appropriate. Like, at least do that. But you can tell it's not. It's just like, yeah, business, sale. Let me do 100 sales pitches. Maybe I'll win one. Although I am wondering how Kerry Myers is going to stay in business with the way things are going. There are very few grants coming up here, so that's going to be interesting. I'm sure business is pretty bad for him right now, but there you have it. And we can jump into another hearing. This one is crazy. It's up there. I think it's equally as sick. It involves a pitchfork. It involves children. It involves a gun. Those three things you don't want to hear in the same sentence. So with that, let's jump in.
I know you can't remember, but I promise you this, your victims do. So just let me refresh your memory just for a second, because you might not remember it when you walk out. It was a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old little girl. They were kidnapped by you. And then raped. And then there was a little 12-year-old boy. He was also kidnapped. And you had a gun and a pitchfork, they said.
And you heard correctly. And he's been locked up in Angola since 1967 for that crime. The crime that could be written out of a horror movie. The crime that could be the worst nightmares that one can imagine. What's interesting about this hearing, you see, he's not parole eligible. He has a life sentence, but he's asking the board to recommend to the governor to commute his sentence. What I think is interesting about this case is that we get to watch just what it is like for a monster to wither away in prison. Do you think that he served enough time? Do you think that they should allow him to spend his final days free? Let's see what the board decides.
Mr. Branch, good morning.
I'm talking to you. Morning.
Good morning, sir. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
I can't.
Name and DOC number.
That was to say,
Your name, your DOC
Tell
number.
them what your name is and your DOC number.
My name is Eric Branch. 65973.
All right, Mr. Branch, you're here before the pardon board seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in 1967 to a life sentence for a first-degree rape conviction in East Baton Rouge Parish. Do you know, is that information correct, sir?
Is it correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear what I said?
What was it?
She said, hear what she say. Are you hearing what she's saying?
I hear a little bit what she say.
Yeah, a little bit.
She tell you what your conviction was. You was convicted in 67, I believe, for aggravated rape,
First degree rape.
first degree rape.
Is that correct?
I,
Yes or no? Is that correct?
I,
Were you convicted for first degree rape in 1967?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate the help. Let me just, for those who are listening and participating today, I want to acknowledge those who are here on Zoom. We have the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers, Lisa Glasper, Mr. Branch's daughter, and here with us in Baton Rouge, we have Mr. Robert Glasper, and at the appropriate time, we'll call on those folks to speak if they choose to do so. So, Mr. Branch, do you know why you're in prison?
Yeah, see?
Do you know why you're in prison?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell us why you're in prison?
Yes,
Can you
Tell
tell
them
them
what you did.
tell them what you did?
Tell them what you did to go to prison.
answer.
Tell them what you did to be in prison.
It's a rape in my.
Okay. How long you been in jail?
How long have you been in Angola?
I've been in Angola since, I've been in Angola since 1967, I believe.
Yes, sir. That's what I got. So, Warden Benoit or Warden Ambo, what can y'all tell us about Mr. Branch?
We could tell you that Mr. Branch is a minimum C. He's assigned to Bear 1. He actually worked as a janitor or cleaner whenever he can. He has a total of 29 DB reports, with his last one being April 24, 2006 for Rule 4. He has completed sex offender treatment. He also completed auto mechanics in 1980. He did 100 hours pre-release and his tire is low. He is assigned to one of our nursing dorms, nursing, to get help from nursing aides and stuff like that. So he has trouble, and he's in a wheelchair. He has trouble with things.
Okay, well, let's, before we start our line of questioning, we'll hear from those who want to speak. Mr. Myers with the Parole Project.
Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project, here to let the board know that we're here to support Mr. Branch. He is a client of Parole Project. Should this board give him a recommendation, Parole Project would provide him the transitional support he needs, and we are prepared, if necessary, to provide him long-term support. Mr. Branch has been incarcerated for 57 years. He is 85 years old. He would be classified as he is classified as a 10-6 lifer. He is not parole eligible, however, because he went to trial and did not take a plea bargain. That's why he's here in front of this board today. So we just want to let the board know that we are here to provide Mr. Branch the support and services he needs.
Okay, good, thank you. And Miss Lisa Glasper?
Man,
What kind of sickness do you have?
I understand. I can't understand you.
Miss Lisa? Is there something you want to say?
On Saturday, I guess he called him on Saturday. He after lunch he fell out and they took him to the treatment center. So I don't know if there's any medication that's stopping him from hearing or talking clearly.
Okay.
But
Well, what would you like us to know about him?
he's a very kind, understanding man. I don't know too much about my father because at the age of 2 weeks, he got incarcerated. So I would like to see if they'll give him a chance to come home. I visit him since I've been 5 years old. My mother is deceased now.
Well, he's lucky to have your support.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today. We have here Mr. Robert Glasper. Mr. Glasper, is there anything you'd like to say?
Mr. Dodson, we have Dr. Cleveland here if y'all like to ask him anything about his condition.
Yes, thank you, Warden Benoit. Dr. Cleveland, can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Branch?
Mr. Branch is 85 years old. He does suffer from some of the problems that men that old get with forgetfulness and loses his train of thought. He does know his name. He knows how old he is. He knows his DOC number. But he requires quite a bit of not really supervision, but direction. You have to give him some direction. He recently was diagnosed with a pretty bad urinary tract infection. The cultures are still pending. We have him on IV antibiotics at this time, and he lives in nursing unit 1.
So he lives at the treatment center.
He's right. He lives with us right now. Now he does normally live at Camp C at Bear 1, and which is not a bad place for him either. But right now he's requiring IV antibiotics, so he's staying with us.
Well, thank you, Dr. Cleveland. Mr. Branch's case was assigned to Mr. Prater. Mr. Prater?
Yes, sir, Mr. Branch. I'll talk slow and hopefully you can understand what I'm saying.
And right there, just talking.
I've reviewed the record here really, and I don't have any questions, but I need to hear you say something about something. Tell me about the crime, the little girls that you raped.
Tell them about the crime and how you feel about the crime. That.
Well, they say that I picked up some children in a car and took them to a local place and had sex with one of them and drove back, scared them back into town.
Did you do that?
I can't say I did that. I don't know if I did that or not. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say I don't think I did that. I don't think I was guilty of that crime what they asked me about. I have good sense. I'm not crazy and thing. And they kept me in jail a long time.
Okay, that's all I got. I think that's as far as we're gonna get.
Any other questions?
Sure. Okay. I know you can't remember, but I promise you this, your victims do. So just let me refresh your memory just for a second, because you might not remember it when you walk out. It was a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old little girl. It was a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old little girl. Can you hear me?
You hear what she's saying? She said it was a 10-year-old and 11-year-old little girls. Okay.
They were kidnapped by you and then raped. And then there was a little 12-year-old boy. He was also kidnapped. And you had a gun and a pitchfork, they said.
12-year-old boy too. a 12-year-old boy was kidnapped and raped.
No, he was not raped. The boy
He
not
was
raped.
not
Just the
raped.
two
Not
girls,
raped.
little boy. So the 3 children were kidnapped, aggravated kidnapped.
Okay.
Yes. So that was what really happened. And they dropped charges like they always do. But that's not the effect it had on those children because they identified you. They were your victims. And so the DA is opposed and the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office opposed, even considering your age, your lack of memory, and your medical condition, which you're getting good medical condition there, and you might not have such good medical condition outside there. So I just wanted to bring up, we did have 3 little children that lived with the effects of that crime. Thank you.
Any other questions? Think we're ready to vote? Mr. Prater?
Yes, Mr. Branch, my vote is because of the severity of the crime, because of the fact you didn't admit it at the time, and you caused a trial, and you still don't remember if you did it or not. My vote to deny this request.
Mr. Freeman?
Due to strong victim opposition and law enforcement opposition, and your past criminal history is terrible. So my vote is also to deny.
Mr. Tillis?
I concur with Mr. Freeman.
Mrs. Stapleton?
I concur, Mr. Freeman.
And Mr. Branch, my vote today also is to deny based on the strong opposition to your application for clemency and your past criminal record. So today, Mr. Branch's application for clemency has been denied.
Man, and I just love that denial. And isn't Miss Stapleton a gem? You know, she looks like every, the classic Louisiana grandmother who would invite you in for some sweet tea, but she, my friend, carries a big stick and she knows how to lay it down. And, she replaced Mr. No Way Roche, who is irreplaceable. But if we could pick anyone from Louisiana, I think it'd be Miss Stapleton. And what a line. Really, she said, "You might not remember, but I know your victims do. And let me remind you, even if you'll forget it before you walk out this door." I mean, that is just, again, I find myself using this word a lot, but kind of like scripted out of a movie. And all those years have passed, but when they bring up the crime, the pitchfork, the gun, the children, you just get brought back there into the horror of it. How can you all of a sudden then say, well, I'll let you go? You can deny doing it still. You can say you don't remember it. You can be a decrepit old broken man, but it's not happening. You made this choice, and now you're going to suffer the consequences. And it's interesting. You have Randy Meyer with the Parole Project, but a joke. I wonder if you could even handle someone like this with the medical and whatnot, but who knows? But it's unbelievable. There's some people that might be saying, well, Louisiana's too tough. He's no risk to society. What's the point? And it is interesting. We see hearings from so many different states, and there are other states that just don't care. They don't believe in the whole retribution thing. They don't believe that, man, some people, they just earned the right to die in prison. And Louisiana, now there are, you could take other things into consideration if you wanted to. Remember, this was a commutation hearing. So they'd have to recommend to the governor to let him out. The governor would get a pamphlet on his desk and be like, "Are you serious? I handpicked you to represent our values, why I was voted into office, and you're going to recommend that someone who SA'd 2 children with a pitchfork and a gun and had their brother watch or whatever, you want me to go, you want me to then commute that sentence?" Sure. That would be a PR field day, wouldn't it? So it's never going to happen anyways, because the governor would never sign it and they wouldn't have, but neither here nor there. I'm just playing the devil's advocate if you guys want to hear it out. But the other states, I think they would just release no problem. They don't really care about the retribution thing. But let's go look at what Lady Holly brought up in the research. So we could pull up the document here. And what's interesting is they have, so he's 85 years old today. Wow. So they have an appeal, but it doesn't say anything. One thing the appeal does say, Lady Holly brings up, is it brings up Witherspoon versus Illinois, which is why he didn't get the death penalty, right? Because it sounds like a clear death penalty case, doesn't it? But maybe not because he didn't kill them. I don't know. But basically, it was what Lady Holly showed is that there were some jurors that were kicked off of the juror poll because they were, here it is, solely because they voiced general objections against the death penalty. And because that happened, I don't know, maybe he didn't get the death penalty. But something that was confusing, what Randy Meyer brought up, they called him a 10-6 lifer. And what a 10-6 lifer was, we've covered 10-6 lifer cases, is that there was a time in, like, I think it was the late 60s, early 70s, where Louisiana, they didn't want to take anyone to trial. Same with what it is today. But they were handing out what they called these deals, which was you would serve 10 years and 6 months and have immediate parole eligibility. And they were handing out these deals like cotton candy. No matter how bad your crime was, it was that ridiculous. They called it 10-6. Then what happened in Louisiana, being known as really corrupt, having a history of being a pretty corrupt state when it comes to lawfare and stuff, they changed their mind. They said, anyone who signed the 10-6 lifer deal, we were just kidding. We changed our mind. Now you're going to have life without parole. And and I know that's insane. That's straight up insane. And they created a bucket of 10-6 lifers. It ended up like 30 years later where they said this is unconstitutional. Now you're all going to have parole eligibility. So we've covered a lot of those 10-6 lifer cases. Some of them are really bad. Some of them aren't so bad, in terms of what they got. They shouldn't have had a life sentence, right? I cannot see a world where this guy would have gotten a 10-6 life deal. And I don't see that mentioned anywhere in the appeal. So I don't know if Randy Meyer made it up, or if he has the wrong information, or if we are missing information, because we don't show that at all. And I can't imagine a world where he would be given a 10-6 deal. Oh, you're going to serve 10 years and 6 months for this. But then again, it's Louisiana, and it's just children, so who knows? And then we can go to Holly's random fact of the day. She's been including it in her documents here. So, fun fact: do you know what thought that he had a brain, but he was wrong? I don't think I get it. This might be too advanced for my brain. Do you know what thought? So, what did thought that he had a brain, but he was wrong? No, that's oh, I wasn't screen sharing it for you. Here it is. See, I'm not making it up. See, Lady Holly's been throwing in these fun facts. This one's above my IQ though. I can't figure this one out. But anyways, that's we saw now a case where I think this man will die in prison. And many people do die every year in Angola. They have their own cemetery to bury the dead. So I think there are certain people that are in the right. You tell me. With that, I'll let you go.
I know you can't remember, but I promise you this, your victims do. So just let me refresh your memory just for a second, because you might not remember it when you walk out. It was a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old little girl. It was a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old little girl. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You hear what she's saying? She said it was a 10-year-old and 11-year-old little girl. Okay.
They were kidnapped by you and then raped. And then there was a little 12-year-old boy. He was also kidnapped. And you had a gun and a pitchfork, they said.
12-year-old boy too.
A lot of people says I shouldn't write this, but I am. The Bible states a life for a life. So after murder, not one, but two innocent women, why would anyone consider a little over 30 years would be sufficient enough to release anyone? Justice would be letting him stay right where he is and right where he belongs.